Here,
Board Chair Avent.
I was conferring.
Aye. I mean, here, I'm sorry.
You have six present.
We have a quorum. We're now moved to the posting of the color guards, and tonight we have Cordova High School ROTC color guard. We have with us Cadet Command Sergeant Major Griffin, Cadet First Sergeant Key, Cadet Private First Class McCaster, and Cadet First Lieutenant Williams. Please stand and then remain standing for a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, my name is Charity Johnson, and I'm a senior at Overton High School. Tonight, I will give you a brief overview of today's board meeting and a recap of last week. To begin with, Shelby County Schools have received the approval of state and federal grants for the Office of Coordinated School Health. Also, renovations will be taking place at schools such as East High School, Transfed High, and Shady Grove Elementary. In addition, this month's key performance indicator focuses on Priority 5 of Destination 2025. The goal is to mobilize family and community partners. And for you students, 901 starts with you. I'm saying that attendance matters. Missing just 2 days per month means a child is chronically absent. Just 2 absences per month can drastically impact student learning. By 6th grade, absences are a top indicator of high school dropout. Having 5 or more unexcused absences mean a child is a truant. Parents can face penalties for student truancy. With this being said, parents, make sure your child is on time, prepared, and ready to learn at school every day. Thank you for watching. Have a great night.
That help enhance their educational experience. Tonight, we feature a special collaboration between the Cordova High School String Orchestra and Dance Department under the direction of Chelsea Subic and Clarence McFerrin, and the principal is Barton Thorne. Thank you to our very talented students from Cordova High School. We appreciate you taking time to come and share your gifts with us as a board tonight and for our listening audience. We'd now like to have a special recognition for George Washington Carver College and Career Academy that will be presented by the Tennessee Department of Education. If you could come forward for the presentation, please.
Mr. Superintendent, Madam Chair, I don't know if you noticed, but one of the players is actually the teacher masking as a student, so you should just know that that's actually the teacher right there.
My name is Pat Connor. I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Student Support for the Tennessee Department of Education, and it's my honor and privilege to be here tonight before you to recognize and honor an exemplary program for alternative education in the state of Tennessee. To kind of give you a little bit of background about the award, this year, the governor has an alternative education advisory board. Along with the Department of Education, we wanted to recognize those schools who exemplify promising practices for alternative and non-traditional education programs. Not many folks know we have specific standards adopted by the State Board of Education for alternative education. In partnership with the Governor's Alt-Ed Advisory Board, we unveiled this year our first cohort of programs that were recognized from across the state for exemplary standards. Those standards and those exemplary programs will be held up at the Department of Education and utilized across the state for other alternative education programs to model themselves after. We did a site visit at George Washington Carver, and guys, I hope if you've not had the opportunity, you will go and visit that school. When we walked into the school, I want you to hear some of the things that we saw at that school that are just truly extraordinary and phenomenal. Number one, they have a very caring and supportive and highly qualified teachers and staff. They serve 3 levels of students: success students, those wanting to remain and graduate; transition students, those students transitioning from incarceration; and alternative school, those who have been remanded due to a discipline infraction. They have behavioral support services that would envy any school. They have Project STAND, a nationally recognized program that focuses on college and career, national career readiness certification, partnership with juvenile justice, and a mentor-based program. The mission and vision is evident and clearly stated throughout the school. Again, when we walked through, our judges, our panel were just, to be honest, our socks were knocked off our feet. It was phenomenal, and I think Dr. Suggs, Valerie Matthews, the great staff at George Washington Carver, Dr. Clements and Project STAND, and Dr. Ray are to be commended for a job well done. So at this time, I'd like for those persons to come forward, and I'd like to award them this certificate for the 2018 Alternative Education Recognition Program.
And if you could come forward also and take a picture with the board, we are so pleased with what Dr. Suggs and Ms. Matthews and Dr. Ray has done for this phenomenal program. Yes, please. All right, we would like to take a moment of privilege because tonight is actually the last meeting for one of our distinguished colleagues, Mr. Mike Cornell. And so in honor of his years of committed service, the board has a proclamation that I want to read into the record, but we also have a plaque that we're going to read, that we want to present to him. Mike doesn't like a lot of paper, so this will be something. Oh, maybe he does like a lot of paper. This will be something he can put on top of his paper. So we want to read this proclamation into the record because we, not only do we appreciate Mike Cornell's service to the children of Shelby County, we appreciate the hard work that he continues to push as a citizen of Memphis. And we know that this won't be the last board meeting that we see him at. But I'd like to read into the record, whereas Mike Cornell has served as a member of the Shelby County Board of Education, where he was elected to sit in trust for a diverse community and entrusted with the guardianship and wise expenditure of tax dollars. And whereas Mike Cornell was charged with the meeting of communities' expectations and aspirations for the public education of their children, responsible for maintaining and preserving the buildings, grounds, and other areas of the school district, which of the community placed in his trust. And whereas Mike Cornell was responsible for providing leadership which ensured a clear, shared vision of public education for Shelby County schools, which set forth high standards for the education of Shelby County students and required the effective and efficient operation of this district. And whereas Mike Cornell, who was also responsible for the regular monitoring of the district's performance and compliance with state policy and was instrumental in the adoption of policy which provided a voice for teachers, administrators, and parents. And whereas Mike Cornell's record of public service spans decades, providing him with great expertise in political and social matters which he used to aid the district and the students of Shelby County schools. And whereas Mike Cornell's work as a board member has placed students at the front line of lifelong success through his selfless performance of countless hours of public service and making decisions directly impacting the quality of life in our communities. And whereas Mike Cornell was an advocate for students and families in underserved communities in all districts throughout the city of Memphis and Shelby County during his tenure, and whereas countless members of District 7, 8, 9, District 9, have supported Mike Cornell to serve as the school board member and advocate, generously lending support and time, giving of themselves and sacrifice to better serve the needs of Shelby County schools and its students. And whereas Shelby County Schools wishes to extend well wishes upon your departure from the governing body and acknowledge with sincere appreciation your positive and lasting mark on our school district and our community at large. Now, therefore, with this proclamation, as a way of honor to you, having devoted so much of your time and energy to the education of our children, we, the Shelby County Board of Education, recognize our colleague, and we should have added in friend, Board Member Mike Cornell, for your years of service to the students, parents, teachers, and administration of Shelby County Schools. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of Shelby County Board of Education on the 28th day of August, 2018. Okay, and the plaque says, to Mike Cornell, greatest appreciation and recognition to your commitment and dedicated service to Shelby County Schools from the years 2014 to 2018. I'll allow we'll take a quick pictures and then allow board members to say a few words. We're gonna go there. Right up front. Board members can be recognized.
I want to thank everybody so much, and but I would like to say something at the end of the meeting, and I have something to hand out to y'all.
All right. I'm going to recognize Teresa Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say, Mike, it has been a pleasure getting to know you, serving with you, having conversations about all types and manners of energy conservation, ideas for the district. I know this will not be the last conversation we have. I expect that you're going to continue your work in education, as you indicated that's your passion, but I really am going to miss you, but not long, because I know you'll be all involved, as I said. But I just really enjoyed serving with you and having you a member of the school board, and good luck.
Thank you.
Ms. Bibbs.
Thank you, Chair. So, Mike, for me, I don't think this is where our journey ends. I know for us, because you've been my seatmate for the past 4 years, and it has definitely been an adventure. I will miss you sitting next to me, but I know that I will still get emails and texts from you around board meetings. So, just looking forward to you answering the phone when I call.
Ms. Love.
So I just want to tell Mike, I'm not going to say that I'm going to miss you, because I know that we'll always be in contact. I will miss finding the pages for you. I will miss calling you, asking you where are you. I will miss asking, do you know that the meeting is in room 321? So I will miss those things. But I mean, you have been a joy to work with. You have kept us on our toes, because we never know what you're going to say or how long it's going to take for you to say it. So for me, I have learned a lot from you, and I appreciate the wisdom that you have shared with us.
Mike, I just want to say thank you for all of your commitment and time to this body. We know that your service to this community has been literally from decades, and that you have a true commitment to Memphis, and seeing that our kids have the best of what they need, and advocating for the best of what they need with teachers and administrators is something that you have done well, and we have learned from you, and I appreciate the commitment that you made on behalf of Shelby County Schools. Thank you. I am going to miss you. Mr. Orgel.
Thank you.
We're not going to miss you like that. We'll miss you being here, because it's been a pleasure serving with you the last 4 years. And I think we should all take note. I don't remember how many terms you ran and won in the state legislature, but I think it was like 14 or 15. How many was it?
38 years.
So 19 times? Gotcha. That's incredible for public service. I had a friend down in Mississippi whose dad was mayor for like 43 years of a town, but I mean, that length of public service. You look at John McCain, served 6 terms in the Senate, and you preceded that, or your tenure in the State House of Representatives, and you have some interesting insights and perspectives on things, and a lot of it's driven by the fact that some of the things that we talk about here in the policy were things that you as a legislator implemented. And so I always appreciated your wisdom, and also that you make me look like I'm on time, because but I know you're always welcome here.
I do agree with that.
Yeah. Well, it's a fact. Yeah. So anyway, but we've enjoyed, at least I've enjoyed working with you these years, and wish you nothing but good luck and success, and we do look forward to seeing you around the city.
And I do want to just make sure to make note that although Board Member Caldwell was not able to be here with us tonight, we also have a proclamation in his honor, as well as a plaque that we'll make sure to get to him, and appreciate his years of service. Mr. Caldwell served on the transition team, and then 2 terms as a board member. So we appreciate his commitment and service to the kids of Shelby County as well. Okay, we are now on the
Madam
approval.
Chair,
Oh,
If-
I'm sorry.
if Kevin comes in late, can he be allowed to say something?
Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Now it's on the question of the approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments?
Madam Chair, we'd like to add an item. It's a contract with CBRE, an all-well contract to project manage the Bear Building move, which includes creating a project plan that the board asked for.
Seeing no other amendments to the agenda, we're ready now for a roll call vote. Mr. Cornell,
Yeah, I got a question. This is approval of the agenda, and then whether or not something's on consent
you have an
will
opportunity
be,
to
will
remove.
be a little.
Mhm. Roll call vote.
Board Member Orville. Board Member Love. Board Member McCormick. Board Member Jones. Board Member Bibbs. Board Member Cornell. Board Chair Avant.
Aye.
You have 7 votes in the affirmative.
Okay, the agenda is approved. We are now on the approval of the minutes. This will be approval of public comment, I'm sorry. I'm gonna ask them to put like public comment in 25 font because I always roll right into something else and don't wanna do that. So public comment, Tennessee law makes no specific provisions for the participation of the public at meetings of local boards of education. However, board policy provides that not more than 30 minutes of each regular business and special call meeting shall be devoted to public comment. Speakers must state their name, home address, organization he or she is representing, if any, and subject of the presentation before they are permitted to proceed. Speakers may offer objective comments about school operations and programs that concern them. Speakers are asked to refrain from using names of personnel or names of persons connected with the school system, particularly when lodging a complaint. Speakers will not be permitted to engage in gossip, make defamatory comments, or use abusive or vulgar language. The chairman shall have the authority to terminate the remarks of any individual who is disruptive or does not adhere to board rules. The timer projected on the screen to the right and directly behind the board will turn yellow when you have 30 seconds remaining. When you hear 2 bells, your time has expired. We have 6 names so that each speaker will have 3 minutes each. I'll call the first 3 names: Travis Eckhart, Joyce Richardson, and Charles Scott. Okay. You may begin.
Hello, my name is Travis Eckert. I'm a teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing at White Station High School. I live at 6415 Airbrook Lane, apartment number 4, Memphis, Tennessee, 38134. The subject of my presentation is establishing American Sign Language, or ASL classes, in Shelby County schools. Now the Educator Licensure Policy 5.502 has passed at the state level on October 20th, 2017. While numerous foreign languages are offered at SES, ASL is not yet one of them. In light of the State Board of Education's approval of allowing ASL to satisfy the foreign language requirement, and colleges across the state now offering that same option, the opportunity has presented itself to Tennessee schools at all grade levels to offer ASL by a licensed educator. What stands out to me as a deaf educator is how ASL courses will bridge the communication gap between deaf and hearing individuals. Many individuals are unaware that deaf and hard of hearing people use sign language on a daily basis in their communities. By creating ASL classes at all grade levels, we can build a strong community within SCS schools and the Memphis deaf community at large. Although bridging the communication gap between the deaf and hearing communities is vitally important, the instruction of ASL can duly benefit both communities by developing parties intellectually. Instruction of ASL also builds a sense of belonging for deaf students by strengthening their signing community and reinforcing their ability to converse in their natural language, thereby reducing any sense of isolation for deaf and hard of hearing students. As a teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing, instituting ASL courses in SCS is vitally important to me because although many of my students do sign, several do not have strong language backgrounds in ASL or English, limiting their ability to communicate with their peers and perform in the classroom. By instituting ASL courses, SCS has the opportunity to impact the education of the deaf by bolstering students' abilities to better communicate in their heritage language because there will be no impediment to access, as this with learning spoken languages such as Spanish and French for for the deaf and hard of hearing. Thank you.
Good evening, distinguished board members. My name is Joyce Richardson. I live at 4528 Range Line. I'm a Shelby County nutrition worker at White Station High School. I'm back again today to address the board, asking you to stand with us by bringing all nutritional workers to a living wage of $15 an hour. I'm also here because I care about our children. Every day, my coworkers and I provide nutrition for thousands of children or students at our school. What kind of message are we sending to our children when the workers feeding them can hardly feed themselves? What kind of message are we sending to our children when the adults around them have to work 3 jobs to make ends meet? What kind of message are we sending to our children when the workers can't afford to take off for sick? The work we do set the stage for our children. We are standing together, demanding dignity and respect. We stand for a $15 an hour living wage. We thank you for hearing us again today, and we appreciate if you abide by giving all nutritional workers $15 an hour. We thank you.
Charles Scott.
Charles Scott, 3689 Huckleberry Street, 38116. Again, Madam Chair, the Board Commissioner, Superintendent Hobson. As always, I pass before you a copy of the recap of some of the activities since the last board meeting. Had the opportunity to attend the Shelby County Commissioners meeting on August the 13th, personally to invite them to attend our meet and greet event on Thursday, September the 6th. Also sent, and you'll see a copy in your folder, the email, an invitation to every Shelby County District Superintendent and their board chairs to invite them to the meet and greet on Thursday, September the 6th. You see we're sent to the Superintendent of Collierville, Millington, Bartlett, Germantown, Arlington, Shelby County, and Lakeland, as well as ASD Chief Sharon Griffin, and to the head board members of those particular districts. Again, you will see in your folder the personal invitation. We hope that as many as you can attend this on Thursday, September the 6th. And also, again, want to say congratulations to board member Evanton Love for being selected as members of the Mayor-elect Harris's transition team. It's important that he recognize educators, and I think that's a great thing. And finally, in closing, even though Chris Caldwell is not here, I want to personally thank him and Mike Cornell. I remember Chris Caldwell many years ago when my son was in school. We started out in the parent assembly together. Again, want to thank them for the many years of dedicated service. And we also look forward to working with the new incoming board members as they come on board. Thank you very much.
Our next 3, Philip Coley, Gail Tyree, and Lynette Williams.
Good evening, board. My name is Philip Coley, 3249 Braemar Drive, Memphis, Tennessee. I've been working in Memphis since 2005. That's when I arrived here. I've been a nutrition worker for a little better than 5 years. I love my job because I know the importance that it is to help the kids to get their knowledge, help them to get food that they need, to get the energy that they need also to get their studies. I have proper nutrition. When these kids are hungry, it's hard for them to concentrate. We prepare nutritious meals for them. and they also get knowledge at the same time. And each perform their works, their talents, their skills that they're doing to get better as community long citizens. But I remember how difficult it was sometimes to give them healthy food, all children. We go to work every day to make sure the children are well fed for their own families, but we are full-time employees. You give them $15 an hour. We, as part-time employees, do the same work as they. We should get the same rate of pay as they do. And I plead and I ask you, step up, do the right thing. As for full-time workers, but I get the same pay. And believe, I have dignity. And I'm sure everybody behind me have the same dignity to do this. So let's work together and not pull apart and put lines in between us. Can we provide our children with the same types of nutritious food we serve in our schools every day? It's hard to do for my family. So step up, do the right thing. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Gail Tyree. I am the Executive Director of AFSCME Local 1733, effective June the 15th of this year. My home address is 3227 North Winoka Circle. And I know some of you are looking at me like the superintendent, like she's been here before. Yes, superintendent, I used to be the Executive Director, and for 2 years in 2013, 2014, I left and I came back. But what I want to say first and foremost is that I want to offer condolences to Miss Love on the passing of your mother. The AFSCME family want to say we are really sorry for your loss, and we are definitely praying for you and your family. We also want to say to Mr. Cornell that we, AFSCME family, we're going to miss you, and we consider you a friend. We're having a Labor Day picnic. We want you to come and be one of our celebrity judges. This is going to be on Labor Day, and we look forward to seeing you there. I know I don't have to tell most of you in the room, but today, August 28th, is the 55th anniversary of the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. It was said that freedom is never granted, it's won. 50 years ago this year, 1,300 sanitation workers walked out. They were on strike. They were fighting for $2 an hour. $2 an hour. That equates to $16 an hour in 2017. And here we stand before you asking for $15 an hour for the nutritional workers. I recall standing here several years ago asking for help for our custodial workers, a fight we lost. We're asking, Superintendent, I was not here when it was said, and I don't want to repeat gossip, but they say that you are a man of your word, and the workers that's standing behind me said that they thought all of them would get $15 an hour. And my grandmother said to me years ago, when you have nothing else, you have your word. And so we're asking for some compassion and some consideration for the amazing people that feed our children. I stood with all of you when you went from $4,000 to $15,000 to the next raise and to the next raise, and we stood because we knew that y'all deserved the raise because y'all work hard for our children. These nutritional workers, they work hard for those same children. They work just as hard. And we're asking that y'all give them some consideration. And I won't say it, but I took a calculator and broke down what your salary would be per meeting. And I'm almost tempted to tell some of our people we're in the wrong business. We need to be running for some of these offices. Y'all have a great evening.
Lynette Williams.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Lynette Williams, and I'm here to address the board as a community liaison for School Board District 6. Teachers are evaluated yearly based on test scores or the Tennessee Readiness Test, and unfortunately, they have well-known problems that have been documented. Teachers' jobs are based on their evaluations and school performance on these tests. Teachers ultimately can lose their jobs as well as opportunities for bonuses due to low test scores. Teachers are not allowed to teach basic curriculum that would lend itself to better improve student test performance and would reduce teacher stress as well as test anxiety. Unlike teachers, the superintendent's evaluation is highly subjective. Currently, there is no objective or any concrete data to evaluate his performance. Unfortunately, our superintendent has no work history, background, or experience as a teacher, which makes the evaluation difficult and very important for the future of our school system. This year, the superintendent's contract negotiations preceded his evaluation. Was this fair to teachers being evaluated without an opportunity to have living wages addressed as far as increases regardless of the test scores? Apparently there's a board policy that has been suspended and the board is not in compliance with the policy as far as evaluations for the superintendent. Finally, as a community leader, a product of Memphis City Schools, and a licensed physician in the state of Tennessee, proper and fair evaluations for teachers as well as the superintendent should have parental input as well as community engagement to ensure the future success of our students. Thank you.
Thank you. The question is now on the approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion for the approval of the August 21 work session minutes, the special call meeting on August 21st, and the approval of the business meeting for July 31st? Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Has been motioned by Board Member Jones, second by Board Member Bibbs. Roll call, please.
Board Member Orville. Board Member Love.
Aye.
Board Member McCormick. Board Member Jones. Board Member Bibbs. Board Member Cornell.
Aye.
You have 6 votes in the affirmative.
The minutes have been approved. Now we'll move to our committee reports. In the absence of the chair, I have no report. Superintendent's report? No, I'm sorry. Academic Performance Committee report. He was sitting right next to me.
I'm about to say, Ms. Love, wait a minute now. Academic Performance Committee, we actually had a meeting earlier this month. We did charter school applications, which was our special call meeting that we had last week. And we will be voting on Reading Horizons Elevate shortly. And we always talk about CCTE. Thank you.
Audit, Budget, and Finance. Capital Needs and Facilities Committee report.
No report tonight.
Community outreach and engagement. So we did have a meeting on August the 14th where the new staff of the Community Engagement Department was introduced to us. We were also introduced to the family specialists who will support schools and parents to improve the well-being and academic success of the students that we serve. Evaluation Committee report. Internal Board Operations report.
Thank you, Chair. So for IBO, we discussed business systems review, which will come in handy because we have 2 new board members coming on who will start in September. And for those 2 departments, which would be finance and communications, so they need to be prepared to for that meeting starting actually September. Biannual policy review is happening as well, so I want to encourage my colleagues around making sure that they actually read them, put notes in. Ms. Stewart has put them out, I think now this is her third time, to make sure that we get responses back for that. And the last one is a policy that will be read tonight for MWBE.
Is there a deadline for when you want responses back from board members?
This is the third time that she has put it out, so I would suggest that we do it ASAP. Thank you.
Thank you. The Legislative Advocate Committee report. Board members, be on the lookout for a calendar invite for next month. We will have class and hopefully Tony Thompson to come and give a recap of the 2017-2018 session. Procurement report.
We did have a meeting on August 7th. We had 3 items on the agenda. The student perception survey generated a lot of discussion. The decision or the recommendation was to send it back for input from teachers and students. The committee didn't have any of those members, so we'll look forward to that coming back. The second item was substitute services, and it also generated quite a bit of opinion and concern over which direction to go with this. So we haven't, I don't think there's I think the directive, at least for me, was to have a side-by-side comparison of what it would look like if we, I call it outsourcing. There's another word for it. But if we did that, or if we did it in-house with additional staff. And so we did have a presentation on the cost and what would that look like, and we're waiting for the other piece if we let someone else do it. The third item was, again, the update on the MWBE. We did have some policy discussion about the language in the policy, and I know I had a couple of acts that we changed in the policy. One was residency instead of domicile, and the other ones to make sure that we had separate goals. We didn't lump women and minorities, that they were separate when we talked about them. When we build this program, there should be separate, those all should be separate in terms of how we lay it out based on the disparity study. And that's it.
Now the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just very briefly, want to give Lynn Johnson a lot of credit. He was actually on live at 9 this morning talking about student-based budgeting. There will be a panel tomorrow, I think, with Lynn, Angela, and a couple of our principals at the Civil Rights Museum tomorrow at 6. So if everybody can attend that. And have some really exciting news around, Board Member Jones, around the great progress that we're making with this MWBE, and got some numbers today I'm very excited about, but I want to make sure we validate them before I share them with the board. But we certainly have made some significant strides, and looking forward to be able to share out the data for this calendar year. Thank you.
General Counsel's report.
Thank you, Board Member Love. I'm going to try to make this as brief as I possibly can. Part of my report is a resolution that I'm presenting this evening for the board's adoption. That resolution is proposing that the board ratify and approve actions taken for school years 2013-14, 14-15, and 15-16. The action I'm proposing the board take this evening is merely in supplement to a similar resolution that the board adopted back in October of 2016, and it's aimed to clear any confusion as to the school district's accessing practices at that time. So I'll now read the proposed resolution into the record, and then I'll inquire if there is a motion to adopt that resolution. Again, this resolution is in supplement to the resolution that was passed in October 2016, adding some names that were inadvertently omitted, and I'll read it. Whereas Tennessee's read it into the record. Whereas Tennessee's tenure statute explicitly contemplates that a tenured teacher's employment may be eliminated via a necessary reduction in force with only prior notice as a prerequisite, Tennessee Code Annotated Section 49.5.511 B 1 through 2. Whereas the Shelby County Board of Education adopted Board Policy 4043 to provide a fair, consistent, systematic method to accomplish a reduction in the workforce while providing Shelby County Schools with the means to retain the necessary skills and abilities to effectively continue the operation of the school system. Whereas the Board of Education is statutorily charged with approving and adopting the annual operating budget for SES and is thus familiar with the financial challenges of the school system. Whereas as a result of the projected decline in student enrollment after the 2013-14 school year, programmatic changes in schools and related budget cuts, SES had to reduce the number of teachers on its payroll for the school years 2014 and 15 and 15 and 16. Whereas on or about April 22nd, 2014, the Board of Education approved a resolution authorizing the overall reduction in teaching positions within SES. Whereas the superintendent and his delegates engaged in a process of accessing certain certificated teachers that followed established state law and board policy. Whereas SES notified those certain employees that they were being accessed, and as such, the employees received sufficient notice to comport with constitutional due process requirements. Whereas questions arose as to whether the Board of Education should have approved the names of each employee to be accessed. Therefore, on or about October 5th of 2016, the board voted to ratify and approve the accessing of those accessed employees for school years 2013-14, 14-15, and 15-16 in order to remove any confusion as to SES's accessing practice under Tennessee Code. It has recently come to SES's attention that there are several accessed employees for those school years whose names were inadvertently omitted from the list that were attached to the resolution that the Board of Education adopted October 5th of 2016. Whereas attached to this resolution is a list of those employees for school years 2013-14, 14-15, and 15-16 whose names were inadvertently omitted from the list that were attached to that resolution. Whereas the board desires to continue its efforts in removing any confusion as to the school district's accessing practice by expressly ratifying the superintendent's decisions and actions, accessing certain employees in school years 13-14, 14-15, and 15-16 as identified in attachment A, which is uploaded into board docs. And to the extent that said ratification is ineffective, the Board of Education desires to expressly approve accessing the employees listed in attachment A retroactively for 2013-14, 14-15, and 15-16. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education finds that the accessing of the employees listed in attachment A was consistent with the board's directions and the educational needs and financial challenges of SES, and thus to the maximum extent allowed by law, the Board of Education ratifies the superintendent's decisions and actions accessing the employees contained in attachment A. Be it further resolved to the maximum extent allowed by law and to the extent that the aforementioned ratification is ineffective, the Board of Education hereby expressly approves accessing the employees listed in attachment A for the school years 13-14, 14-15, and 15-16. The superintendent is also directed to give each employee the notice and process mandated by board policy and Tennessee law, including explaining fully that their positions had been eliminated due to budget cuts and or related programmatic changes in his or her respective schools. Be it further resolved that since the accessing notices each employee received were tendered at the request of the Board of Education to the maximum extent allowed by law, the board approves the notices received by each employee nunc-pro-tunc to the date on which the employee received the notice. And there's a signature block approving it. Again, this is in supplement to actions that we took in October 2016. That is simply closing a loop.
I need a motion and a second to adopt. So, roll call, and then we have, oh, I'm sorry.
So I remember we did a list before, so I don't really understand how we now have additional names. I don't understand legally where we are, what effect does this have? These are people who've already been accessed. There's legal action pending, currently ongoing with these individuals.
Yeah, I would defer to Ms. Urban.
Yes. So there, as you know, we're in the middle of our cleaning up our ERP system, and in that process, in the cleanup process, we were able to learn there were more names that should have been included. And so we included those names. So it's a part of a larger cleanup as well. There is some pending litigation with some of those names. So in line with the actions that were taken and the advice that was given, I believe, in executive session back probably the summer of 2016 is what this resolution is just supplementing.
So this is not something that came out of a court order from the previous others who had litigated this same issue. It's not something that came out of the court order.
This action that I'm asking you to
right. The court didn't mandate we do this.
No. However, we're encouraged that this was the right move to make, which is why we made it in October 2016. So in staying in line with the legal strategies that were discussed in executive session.
So how were we who encouraged us that this was the right move to make?
This office a couple of years ago.
So I had a problem with it then, and I have even more problem with it now. From just in fairness to individuals, I don't know where the litigation is. I don't know how this does or does not affect. I don't know I just don't know. So until I have more understanding, I approved it the last time upon recommendation, but the further out we get, we continue to add more people to the list years later. Maybe if I have a better understanding whether I could support it, but not as I don't have that now, so I can't support it now.
Okay.
Board Member Bibbs.
Thank you. So my question, well, actually, Ms. Jones asked a lot of my questions, but I just, without saying a name, but I guess my question is, I see a name on here, and you're saying this is from 2013 through 2016.
Correct.
The person's name that I see was working last year. So I'm just trying to understand how that matches up.
Correct. So this is simply, so even if someone was a part of a reduction in force and they return, there is a gap time period between the time they were part of that and the time they've returned. So as I've stated before, this step is more of a procedural step to simply make sure that we've resolved any confusion about how we procedurally handle accessing, and that is the board taking the action.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Board Member Jones.
I think the last time, I think the crux of what, as I remember, you can correct me, is that we didn't vote when initially we didn't vote.
Correct, and so this is a necessary step.
After litigation, it was suggested or it was determined we should have voted.
That is correct.
We were presented with a list of names, and so now, is this the first addendum to that list, first list?
This is in supplement as a result of our push to be prepared for our ERP rollout. We're in that process, and so we're just making sure we stay in line.
So these new individuals today, some of them still have litigation pending, some of them could still be working for the district.
That is correct.
Some of them could have moved on.
That is correct.
So I guess my question, the legal question I'm not going to ask. I'm not going to ask that question.
Board Member Cornell.
So are you saying that when we voted on the previous resolution, somebody left those names off?
They were inadvertently inadvertently omitted. It's correct.
Okay, so by putting them on the list and passing it, what does that mean?
It's just ratifying certain actions that were taken. We're just correcting a procedural step. So the accessing did occur, but we're pretty much crossing our T's and dotting our I's as mandated under the tenure law.
So either way, but if we do pass this resolution, nothing changes in terms of our relationship with those people?
Correct.
And are those people using the fact that, is anyone using the fact that the names were left off in litigation currently?
That is a possibility that it can.
But not currently?
We can talk more offline in terms of the legal strategy and the
Oh, I understand that, but
Okay.
is there a public case right now with anybody on this list you're giving us today?
There are some individuals on the list where there is some pending litigation publicly, yes.
Thank
Board Member Jones?
I know this is 3 times, and I'll be
Well,
quick.
the first
Um,
time you went on, second time you went on your own, so
Okay.
still two.
I did. You looked at me. So noted. I guess understanding what I think I understand about this, I'm inclined to let these things play out in court as they are. I'm not inclined to take a vote either way that will assist either party. I'm just inclined to let it stay. That's the way I see this. If there's litigation is out there. There's been years. Whatever happened or shouldn't have happened has already been done, and it'll play out one way or another in court. So.
No more, I see no more lights. Roll call, please. I'm sorry. Board Member Orgel?
That's quite, Superintendent. So, any litigation, we're protecting SCS, which is what we're elected to do, correct? So it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a slip and fall case. Regardless of whether we think it's right or wrong, we're protecting SCS. I mean, that's kind of our duty. So is this, in your opinion, you were here, you were our legal counsel when this happened, because I listened to some of the dates that were in there, and I certainly was on the board then as well. So in your opinion, is this something we need to do? I mean, why wouldn't we do this?
I think Mr. Uncle, if I recall, advising counsel, on advice of counsel, it just put us in a stronger legal position to take this approach.
So there could be a monetary, it could affect us adversely monetarily, which then could affect our ability to fund programs for our students and other things. Sign language, I listened to that tonight. I thought that was good. I actually got that an email from that wonderful teacher at White Station. But so some kind of settlement, just like we had some other pending litigation where board members got involved and could adversely affect SCS. So I think for me, it's my responsibility to protect SCS.
Your analysis is correct.
Seeing no more lights. Roll call, please. We're voting aye to adopt the resolution. Roll call, please.
Board Member Orgel? Board Member Love? Oh, God. Okay. Board Member McCormick? Aye. Board Member Jones? Board Member Bibbs? Board Member Cornell?
Pass.
Vice Chair Love?
Aye.
Board Member Cornell?
Unready. Present, pass, past, present.
You have 4 votes in the affirmative, 1 no, and 1 present not voting.
So the motion is not adopted. We needed 5 ayes to pass.
Point.
Board Member Cornell?
I think in respect for our staff person, our attorney here, I don't think I necessarily should make the motion to have this put on another calendar when I'm not going to be sitting here. I'll be out there. But I think we ought to think about having this come back up and not just say no. And
Board
then,
Member Cornell, you have no right to explain your vote after the vote has been taken.
oh, no. What I'm getting ready to say is I think a motion's needed to move this resolution to a point, a date certain, so we can decide again whether or not to act on it.
Point of order, we
So-
haven't had one of those in a while. Point of order. Point of order.
So,
I want to ask you a question. Proceed.
I'm prefacing a motion is what I'm doing.
Oh.
I'm-
Point of order, you just blow it out.
I'm sorry. I'd like to be recognized for a motion. I'd like to make a motion.
The only motion that is in order
What?
at this time is to reconsider the vote.
I thought I had a point of order. I thought that took precedence, but you may tell me.
hold on. So we're gonna move to Board Member Orville.
This is complicated, I know, because we had 23 people. Teresa and I both got into all this stuff. And Dr. Schultz did a great job. But my point of order is, will you explain, maybe helps Mike out, procedurally, what we can do if we want to reconsider this or vote on it again at another meeting? Would it have to be someone on the negative side to bring it back up? Or my recollection is that we could just make another motion at the next meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
The motion has been rejected.
Okay.
It can be brought back as a new motion at the next meeting. That is one way to deal with it. The other way to deal with it, if you want to deal with it tonight, is someone who voted on the prevailing side,
Which is no, which is the no side.
which would have to be someone who was in the negative, would have to move to reconsider the vote. And reconsideration of that vote could occur. If majority agree to reconsider, we simply move back to the point just before the vote was taken. And it could be voted again at that time. There is nothing that stops this from coming before the body next month.
Thank you.
Board Member McCormick.
Thank you. If someone votes present not voting, are they considered in the minority, or would that person be allowed to bring it up, or just a no?
Only the no.
Thank you.
So that motion fails. Superintendent.
Oh, yeah. And this is, I know it's a little out of order, Ms. Love, but I did forget to mention two things. Friday, 12 to 2, we're having a farewell celebration for Melvin Burgess, so if anybody can come by for that, he's been here for 30-plus years, and he's going on to be the assessor. And then also, Madam Chair, I know that our cafeteria workers talked about the $15 hour raise. I just want to be clear, as the board knows, I've always talked about that being for full-time workers, but I know that you, Ms. Love, and some other board members would like to discuss it in an audit budget finance committee. No problem with that. We certainly could be prepared to talk about the financial costs and the reasons for our recommendation. So just wanted to make sure that stayed there for the record.
All right, thank you, Chair. Now we will move on to our proposed policies, second reading. And this is policy 3001, multi-hazard emergency. Can I have a motion, please? Motion, please. Second. Motion by Board Member Jones, second by Board Member Bibbs. Roll call, please.
Board Member Orgel. Board Member McCormick. Board Member Jones. Board Member Bibbs. Board Member Cornell. Vice Chair Love.
Aye.
Board Member Orgel. You have 6 votes in the affirmative.
That motion passes. Now I will ask for a recommendation to suspend the rules to adopt policy 2010 on first reading. Can I have a motion and a second, please? It's been motioned by Board Member Bibbs, second by Board Member Jones. Ms. Stewart?
Policy number 2010, minority women and disadvantaged small business enterprise participation. It was discussed during IBO as well as in the procurement meeting. we did make, those recommended changes, and they're highlighted in yellow in your document.
The immediately pending motion is to suspend the rules to allow adoption on the first reading. And your policy does have some requirements on this. On matters of unusual urgency, the board may waive the 4-week limitation. 4-week limitation, there has to be 4 weeks between the first reading and the adoption. And take immediate action to adopt new or revise existing policies. When such immediate action is necessary, the superintendent shall inform concerned groups or individuals about the reasons for this necessity. So this is a non-debatable one, but you might want to hear from the superintendent as to why we would want to adopt this on one reading.
Superintendent?
I think a couple things. I think the board has been very clear in its directive to put this policy in place, the official MWE policy, because I think it gives board the more flexibility as it attempts to increase its minority and women participation. And we just believe that given the board's focus on this, we think it makes sense to go ahead and adopt it now and put it in place today.
One other thing you need to know, to suspend the rules does require a 2/3 vote. I'm sorry, your policy is a majority vote. I lied, excuse me. Suspending the policy.
Okay, now, roll call on suspending the policy. So we're voting on, approval to suspend the policy.
Board Member Orgel. Board Member McCormick. Board Member Jones. Board Member Bibbs. Board Member Cornell.
Aye.
Vice Chair Love.
Aye.
You have 6 votes in the affirmative.
That item passes. Now a motion to adopt the policy 2010 SCS minority women and disadvantaged business enterprise participation. Motion and second, please. Motion by Board Member Bibbs, second by Board Member Jones. Roll call vote, please.
Board Member Orgel.
Aye.
Board Member McCormick.
Aye.
Board Member Jones.
Aye.
Board Member Bibbs. Board Member Cornell.
Aye.
Vice Chair Love.
Aye.
You have 6 votes in the affirmative.
Now we're on to the so this policy has been adopted. Thank you, board members. Now we are on to the consent agenda. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
I think, Madam Chair, we're removing our procurement food service management from no, that's just.
Board Member Cornell, did you want to remove anything?
If I remember, there was just some short follow-ups needed on 11.3, 11.4, 11.9, and 11.13. And for the 11.3 is adolescent health, 11.4 preschool development, 11.9 power school, and 11.13 MATA. I listed the subject for the listening audience.
Let's make sure we got that right.
Okay. So we're going to move 11.3, 11.4, 11.9, 11.13. Is that correct? Okay.
3, 4, 13. Actually, this is from discussion at the other meeting, 11.9. Just a follow-up.
Okay, I will read the consent agenda into the record. 11.1, I'm sorry, 11.2, immigrant grant in the amount of $20,951. 11.5, preschool development grants in the amount of $6,581,470. 11.16, county commission grant in the amount of $1,803,521. 11.7, University of Memphis Community Partner in the amount of $87,716. 11.8, MOU with the Tennessee Department of Education on Childhood Obesity Health in the amount of $435,000. 11.10, cafeteria supply items for the 2018-2019 school year in the amount of $1,562,711. I'm sorry, $562,711. 11.11, cafeteria equipment steamers in amount of $152,210. 11.14, paintwork for, I'm sorry, 11.12, procurement food service management system in the amount of $1,060,379. 11.14, paintwork for school cafeterias for the 2018-2019 school year in the amount of $200,000. 11.15, rental of chillers at Northside High School in Grays Creek in the amount of $650,400. 11.16, duplicating paper in the amount of $696,150. 11.17, contract amendment for Tresvant High School HVAC in the amount of $79,831. 11.18, change order for Shady Grove Elementary School HVAC in the amount of $12,509. 11.19, modular wall partition installation at Sherfield in the amount of $135,794. 11.20, East High School floor tile removal project in the amount of $170,000. Okay, I know. I'm just nervous. $170,105. 11.21, East High School painting project in the amount of $266,300. 11.22, purchase of property insurance and student athletic insurance in the amount of $3,830,075. 11.23, on-site medical services in the amount of $2,555,998. 11.24, West Interactive Messenger in the amount of $105,000. That's it. Okay. So can I have a roll call vote for the approval of the consent agenda? Board Member Beers, Board Member Jones. No, I need a roll call vote. Shanice?
Board Member Orgel. Board Member McCormick. Board Member Jones. Board Member Bibbs. Board Member Cornell. Vice Chair Love.
Aye.
You have 6 votes in the affirmative.
Okay, so that has, okay, we would like to adopt 12.1 contract Reading Horizons Elevate software in the amount of $289,855. Motion and second. Motion by Board Member McCormick, second by Board Member Jones. Roll call vote, please. I'm sorry, any discussion? I'm sorry. No, this is 12.1. It was added to the agenda. Do you want to talk on
We will get all those,
it? Yeah. It was added to the agenda. Yes. I'm already nervous and y'all sitting over there talking. Roll call vote on 12.
suspension of the rules is only good for one specific item. And it is done.
Okay. So now we are on the roll call vote for the consent agenda, correct?
No.
I'm sorry, we're on the roll call vote for the, for 12.1. Okay.
Board Member Orwell. Board Member McCormick. Board Member Jones. Board Member Bibbs. Board Member Cornell. Vice Chair Love.
Aye.
You have 6 votes in the affirmative.
The consent agenda is adopted. No. I'm sorry, 12.1, stop laughing. 12.1 is adopted. The one we added was, that's the one we just did.
I gotta find it. This is one that he added. This is, we need a motion on the contract. Second, 12.1 is adopted. Now there's one that the superintendent added, is the contract dealing with the moving to the new location.
Now we need a motion for 12.3, a contract on the move to the Jackson Avenue Bears Building. And I open it to superintendent. We need a motion and a second. Board Member Jones, you gonna second? Okay, so it's been motioned by Board Member Bibbs, second by Board Member Jones. Do we have any discussion? Board Member Cornell?
Yes, when is that contract going to happen?
So, Mr. Cornell, I think that we actually have CBRE Hearing and all are under contract now. This will be for an additional $125,000 and it will be implemented immediately. And just for some context, when the board approved the purchase of the Bear Building in July, the board requested that it be presented with an overall administration building consolidation plan. This amendment engages the same vendors that work with us to present to the board, and they're going to help us with that plan. And so it just allows us basically to fulfill the board's request.
Okay. Seeing no lights, roll call, please.
Board Member Orgel. Board Member McCormick. Board Member Jones. Board Member Bibbs. Board Member Cornell. Excuse me, Vice Chair Love.
It happens. Aye.
You have 6 votes in the affirmative.
So that agenda item is approved. Now can I have a motion and a second for item 11.3? The CDC grants promoting adolescent health through school-based HIV. So it has to be motion first, and then there's discussion, and then we vote on it. You're welcome. Okay, Board Member Cornell?
Yes, my question is, who will be doing this? Who will be doing this? Who will receive the grant and who will be doing it? Will be
So it'll be
go ahead.
the school district will be receiving the grant, and I think that we provided the school-specific schools that will be the beneficiary of the grant, and I think we provided the detailed breakdown.
in the presentation packet that was given last, I'm sorry, in the we provided it in the presentation packet that was given to you all last week at the work session in a folder that was at your desk. However, currently we are in the process of selecting these schools. We have the grant funds 3 positions. It's 2 special project coordinators and 1 evaluator, which is our research analyst, Carla Shirley here. And so right now we just received the notice, so we are in the process of selecting the schools. And Dr. Shirley here can give you a little bit more insight on how we select those schools.
And I think, Mr. Cornell, so before we start, happy to answer any specific questions that you have, or if you just want to hear from.
Actually, I don't need to know how to select the schools, but it seems that this is such a great problem because women of color are the highest, most accelerating group accelerating with this, and Memphis is a ground zero, right? Okay. So do we only do this if we get a $360,000 grant, or in other words, this is a grant to us?
That's correct.
So is there any money for doing this beyond this grant that we have in our budget, or that you know of? What else are we doing?
Currently, we teach, we have a curriculum that we have adopted per Michigan model, and also we work collaboratively with Coordinated School Health grant, and they also help implement certain programs and initiatives as well.
And is that an in-house group, or is that a?
That's in-house.
In-house?
Well, it's sponsored by the state. It's a grant as well. It was
okay.
It was on the agenda 11.8.
Okay, thanks. That's it.
That's it, Mike? Okay. Can I have no further questions? Roll call, please.
Board Member Orgel. Board Member McCormick. Board Member Jones. Board Member Bibbs. Board Member Cornell. Vice Chair Love.
Aye.
You have 6 votes in the affirmative.
That agenda item passes. Now can I have a motion and a second for 11.4 preschool development grants? It's been motioned by Board Member McCormick, second by Board Member Bibbs. Any discussion? Board Member Cornell. So each time I ask any discussion, since you pulled them all, you can go ahead and start talking.
Okay. That's nifty. I am actually using this topic to ask Dr. Whitelaw a question I've asked before, and that is, if we're going to have high quality pre-K, we need to make sure the kids have not been lead poisoned. Now, recently it has been found that lead has been found in military housing and whatnot, and so kids that were in Millington and who are now in our schools from years ago, or not from years ago, but their parents may have had lead and passed the effects to the children. So where are we now as far as all the pre-K kids in high quality positions getting checked for lead? Which is, I think, free, right?
That is, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. McClinton, who's over our pre-K department.
Good evening. So the lead screening is a requirement as far as our children entering. The problem, or why we have special, the reason why we're able to forego lead screening is because of trying to work with different entities or the health department as far as screening for lead. The screening is not available at that time, at this particular time, and so we're working through what's an alternate plan, because now when they go in, physicals don't include a lead-based screening as they did years ago. And so we're still doing research and working through how could we possibly have those particular screenings with our children.
Now, it's my understanding when I attended the meeting that a packet's given to the parents to check the kids for a number of things. And that packet is required. And that we cannot require something more for the child to enter pre-K Head Start. But we can suggest it. In other words, we can do a community outreach to the parents and say, this isn't required, but when you get your checkup, go ahead and do this too for the sake of your child. Isn't that correct?
Yes, we absolutely could make that recommendation to our parents.
Okay. So we've been talking about this, and a whole new group of kids have gone into school and haven't been checked for lead. Now, if we're really interested in 2025, it's not going to help any kids with lead poisoning to be entering the first, second, third, and fourth grade. So something needs to be done, because to me, it's as simple as copying a piece of paper and sticking it in the folder and saying, parent, when you go to the doctor, do this. Do the doctors, they'll do this free, or if you're on Medicaid, they'll do it? Will they do it, or what?
So it's an actual assessment that is outside of the regular physical. And so I'm not sure if that would incur costs. We can check to see. But that is not a part of the recommended physical that's required by state and federal law for children to have entering into pre-K.
I understand. But if the doctor will still do it for a Medicaid recipient's child and will do it free, why can't we figure that out and recommend that the parent do that, if that's the case? And then if not, try to find some other way.
Absolutely. We'll take that under advisement.
Well,
So Dr. McClendon, I mean, that doesn't seem like a particularly difficult thing to do, to include that type of information in packets. I mean, is that something we could do?
So of course, all of our parents are required to have an interview, and we can include that as a part of their interview question. We do receive from the doctors their immunizations, as well as a signature that they've had an actual physical. They don't really give us all the information as to what happened as far as the physical. What federal and state law require is that a doctor verifies that they have had one. And so that's the piece where we probably need to work through with our health providers and others to see exactly what does that look like, what could we do to actually manage that request.
So can we just make that a part of the, I mean, I think it's a good idea. So, I mean, is that,
Yes.
so have the interviews started yet? Are they ongoing, or?
So the interviews will be ongoing with our current family service workers who are with our children. And so we can ask that as they're contacting parents that we do actually collect that particular data. And then moving forward, as other children actually apply for the program, that could be a part of the interview questions that we ask as we form, probably staff forms a committee to then see about what would it entail and what cost would it entail to the program for requesting this. One thing we have to be careful of, if we ask parents to do something outside of what their insurance covers, then the cost of that would be incumbent upon the grant to pay.
And I'll say, Superintendent, so what I know is, because I get my children tested for lead every year, so there's no extra cost, even when I have their physicals done every year. And maybe working with communications and community engagement to do something as simple as a lead awareness week, where we, let parents know what it means for their children to have high exposures of lead. I think we're kind of making it more complicated than what it really is. No, I'm telling you, Mike Cornell, that I'm gonna take care of it for you.
Okay.
That's what I'm telling you. Okay,
Well,
roll call vote, please.
Wait, I know, but
Go ahead.
I want my
Okay.
second. Y'all are doing such a wonderful job. I have sat into many meetings. You really are. I don't think anything is going to have to be 100%. But if 65% of the kids are able on their insurance or Medicaid to get the test, let's get the maximum up as high as we can. People who live in the poorest neighborhoods are the neighborhoods of the greatest metal exposure. And so there should be a correlation between medical services given to those families through Medicaid and the need to be checked. So just get it, I think we should get the number as high as we can. That's it.
I agree, Board Member Cornell. So, roll call, please. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Board Member Jones.
I guess we resolved it. I was just gonna say, could we just not do some informational pamphlet, explaining that the district is not responsible, but encouraging them to ask for that extra test and be done with it?
So I think a couple things, Ms. Jones. I think that we can have, coordinate school health, can promote through the health promotions, and then we'll do that in connection with, communication to get the words out. We'll jump on that immediately.
Seeing no more lights, roll call vote, please.
Board Member Orgel. Aye. Board Member McCormick. Aye. Board Member Jones. Aye. Board Member Bibbs. Aye. Board Member Cornell. Aye. Vice Chair Love.
Aye.
You have 6 votes in the affirmative.
That agenda item is passed. Can I have a motion and a second for 11.9, Power School attendance?
Second.
It's been motioned by Board Member McCormick, second by Board Member Jones. Discussion, please.
Yes, regarding that, it looks as if the purpose of this is to monitor absences and tardies and whatnot. Is that what the purpose is?
Yeah, it is a computer code that will help us to keep better attendance.
Okay.
Last year, you probably heard, Mr. Cornell, there were some issues because of the way the system was going. If you missed the first homeroom or first class, it coded you absent all day. And so this fixes that. So you get credit for when you come in, even if it's after the beginning of the school year.
And I think probably because money is so tied, our reimbursements are so tied to this, that is somebody going to check to make sure these computer programs are actually going to speak the language of what the state requires?
In terms of attendance, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Roll call vote, please.
Board Member Orgel. Aye. Board Member McCormick. Aye. Board Member Jones. Aye. Board Member Bibbs. Aye. Board Member Cornell.
Aye.
Vice Chair Love.
Aye.
You have 6 votes in the affirmative.
That motion passes. Can I have a motion and a second for agenda item 11.13, matter?
Second.
So that item has been motioned by Board Member Bibbs, second by, I'll give it to McCormick. Board Member McCormick. Discussion, please.
Yes, Madam Vice Chair, we discussed the possibility of using MATA for students and the family members. And I'm just wondering if has anything occurred in the last, since the last week in that discussion? Has there been a discussion of that with MATA at all last week?
Dr. Ray.
So I'm going to speak loudly tonight, right? Superintendent Hobson, board member Cornell. I've spoken with Mr. Weary and I, so we have a future meeting with Matt, I think, in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you.
And Superintendent, I do want to make sure that, as I stated last week, there are bus route changes, and as of right now, I believe there are 5 bus route eliminations. I'm telling you, yeah. Matter. So it may be good, and I can give you the information, so it may be good to connect to see if any of our children who attend alternative settings will be impacted by those route changes.
Thank you, Ms. Love.
All right, Barry. Roll call vote, please.
Board Member Orgel. Aye. Board Member McCormick.
Aye.
Board Member Jones. Aye. Board Member Bibbs. Aye. Board Member Cornell.
Aye.
Vice Chair Love.
Aye.
You have 6 votes in the affirmative.
Okay, that agenda item is adopted, and be it that there's no more business before this. Oh, I am so sorry. I would like to recognize Board Member Cornell.
Well, anyway, hey, thanks for the what is it called? The plaque and the proclamation, and I really love working with everyone, and I love working with all y'all, and I'll be out in the audience sometime and just say hi, and I wasn't going to say this, but this isn't a swan song, it's just fact. When AFSCME mentioned me, yes, I am an AFSCME type person, because when the sanitation workers struck and King was killed, that night's when I decided to go into public life. It's now been 42 years in public office, and I won my first campaign with 174 votes and the endorsement of the sanitation workers in 1974, and I will forever be grateful. Secondly, I have here something for y'all to remember me by. Not y'all. I don't have that much money. These are for the eight board members. These are LED light bulbs. Now I'm going to tell you two things about these. They're really nice.
What a great idea, Mike.
And I did not invent the internet or the LED light bulb, but I think that when I did the LED resolution years ago, and I bought these, I left them upstairs and forgot to give them out. I think I was too nervous. But I think the price has come down like 70%. So these someday will be antique LED light bulbs.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, yeah, there you go. And each one.
Mike, it was a great idea.
Can we get somebody to do a photo, please?
And wait, where's okay. And each one.
Communication, she'll do a photo.
Each one will save you a whole lot of money. And Billy, you can put that in your building.
Leave the light on.
You can put that in your building. And let's see, there are a lot of other things I wanted to say, but I will say one thing. I appreciate working with everybody, and I want to say two things. I really am happy that if I'm not here, Joyce Doris Coleman is. We've worked together on saving Dunbar, and it is going to be wonderful that she's going to be sitting in this chair. And secondly, I talked with one of our staff people about this, but I didn't complete a resolution. Who's the most famous teacher, Memphis teacher that ever lived? The most famous Memphis teacher ever lived. Ida B. Wells. Okay. There's only one statue in Memphis for a woman. I don't remember who she is. But I think whether it's at the new building or somewhere, we ought to be involved in erecting a statue for the most famous Memphis teacher who's known around the world for all she did, Ida B. Wells.
Mike, I think you've done your mission.
Thank you.
Can we get our picture, please? No, you can take it right here. Yeah.
Let's sing God Bless. Billy? Come on, Billy.
Hold on, one more. Come on, Billy, you can do it. Now, being no further business before this board, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Good job.